أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد آل محمد وعجل فرجه وسهل مخرجهم واحشرنا معهم وارزقنا شفاعتهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد آل محمد وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المنتجبين المنتخبين، لا سيما بعد. أما بعد، فقد قال سبحانه وتبارك وتعالى في محكم الكتاب وفرقانه الحميد المجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الدين عند الله الإسلام. With our continued series in the caption of Shia'ism, the national article of Islam, we reached up to the 28th of the episode, which in fact today it is an extension or a supplement to the episode 27 itself. Remember, in the episode 27 we have made a mention of the social condition, the miraculous social conditions that changed by the teachings of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his seerah and sunnah, with Quran and Majeed, revelation, the word of Allah, and the seerah and sunnah, the practice of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We found that there is one miracle, the miracle of splitting of moon, the clifting of moon, and then we have the miracle that he embraced the people to the extent and influenced them to the extent that black, power, poor, poverty-stricken, old, aged, Jubair, when Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent for his marriage proposal to Zulfi, who was counted as one of the richer business woman, business girl, a young girl. Historic record says that she was of good features, and we find that when her father has detested a little that, oh my dear daughter, what happened, that when we have said Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, then Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has sent to Jubair, the black, the poor, the old, aged. And then at this, Zulfi said, Baba, what are you saying? We have accepted Islam in toto, in full. That is the meaning of accepting Islam in Wal-Kafa, and join the fold of Islam in its totality. Silm Kafa. So she said, no, because this proposal is by Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I know whatever Rasul has done will be the best for me. So if any other choice comes, I will not accept except to the one which Rasul has proposed. And what can be a better, the best proposal than the one that comes, can be better other than the one that comes from Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So you ask any psychologist, clinical psychiatrist, behavioral psychiatrist in matter of womanhood, her psyche, especially when she is young, she is millionaire in our language, and young, and that too married to a person who is old, aged, black, poor. So all their kind, Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, all idols which Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has broken down. It is the greatness of Islam, it is the greatness of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that his teachings have had such impact that not only Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had done, but even the Sahaba and Sahabiya, like Zulfi, has broken these three idols. So as we see in the history of Islam, that the first martyr was a lady, a woman, who sacrificed her life. She was Sumayya, mother of Hazrat Ammar Yasir. So we see at the level of psycho-behavioral sacrifice, the first person to have given her life and as a sacrifice in the form of deciding to live the entire life with a black, old, poor person, demolishing the 1400 years later the idols of Marx economics, Sigmund Freud psychology, psychiatry, clinical psychology, behavioral psychology, especially related to the sex matters, marriage matters, and to Durkheim, the sociology school, the sociology idol. This was the impact of Rasulullah teachings with Quran revelation and Sunnat Rasulullah. Now, the question is, when Quran says, what is the lesson that we can learn from this incidence of this marriage? In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving us some guidelines to be applied across the history of the future till the dawn of Qiyamah, the day of judgment, day of accountability, day of Ma'ad. That for a healthy society, as much as possible, the gap between the rich and poor is to be dissolved. Then there can be one way, besides the economic policies the government takes, at the social level also. At the government level, we know that it can be taken by the governments to make such policies in which the gap between the rich and the poor be dropped down. But at the individual level also, at the social level, we can find it when a poor girl is married to a richer man, or a poor boy is to marry a richer girl. Irrespective of whether the person is old or young, it doesn't make any sense of matter. When we look into sublime beauty of Allah Azawajal and our sacrifice for the day of judgment and accountability, in the eternity of Islam, in the eternity of human life, which lasts till the day of judgment, and beyond that in inshallah ta'ala in Jannah. So these are all crucible to ground down these parameters in which we look into. Now, for example, we have an ayah sharifa in this regard. The word Abd has come in different meanings in Quran Majid. One has the Ubudiyat Ilahi, worship. The other one is the servitude, servants. And then we have got the slaves. Also there is one meaning which comes to give this sense of the mustazafin, the poor of the society. So we find this is the ayah from Surah An-Nur. It says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa ankihul ayama was-salihina min ibadikum wa imaikum in yakunu fuqara yughnihim Allahu min fadlihi wallahu wasi'un alim. Wallahu wasi'un alim. The ayah Sharifah says, marry those among you who are single, or the virtuous in character, virtuous ones among yourselves, male or female. The word says here, male or female, virtuous. Ibadikum wa imaikum means the slaves and the slave boys and slave girls, or slave men and slave ladies or women or girls. We find that here the slavery is what Mr. Abdullah Yusuf Ali has translated, looks to be more proper as male or female only among in the line of poverty. So it is not the sense exactly of what ibad or imaq we take, but here the ibad, the imaq means those who are the weak in economic, poverty-stricken line. So if, for example, as Zulfi, the richer woman, businesswoman, the beautiful woman, as history records, and a young girl who sacrificed her life for Allah Azawajal to marry an old man, a poor man, a black man. Does this ayah Sharifa not in a position to open our eyes? Does this ayat not make us open our eyes that to make a society Islamic, to make a society pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal, why not we, in the light of teachings and in line of teachings of Rasulullah Karam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which he recommended to Joybar, why not in our society we try to dissolve the distance, the level, or the difference in society between the rich and the poor, the gap, through a means which the event of Zulfi and Joybar narrates. For example, if anyone is young, and with that she is richer, and then we have another person who is of age but economically not that sound. Is it possible that today our girls or our women will be in a position to give their life as a sacrifice for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal? Are they prepared? Or is our Islam, just as Sayyidul Shuhada Abu Abdullah alayhi salam has said, it is on the tip of the tongue? Had this not been with us, let us pray that let our Islam be true Islam in our spirit and mind, not just in body. Let that become part of our mind, our nafs, our ruh. Then all these things will be achieved. There is no one to tell anything to anybody, because medically speaking, psychologically speaking, psychiatrically speaking, the age is not a barrier between, if the husband is, for example, too old or of much of age than the girl or woman, then medically there is no problem. And we see that how Joybar was old, Zulfi was young. That incident we have got from the life of Rasulullah Karam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his teachings. But for the sake of Islam, for the sake of Allah, Zulfi has given her life, her sacrifice, and not life, sacrifice, just sacrifice, but with core of her heart, with happiness, that this is the one which has been recommended by Rasulullah Karam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So is it an event of the history of the past, and that there ends the matter? Or Islam, if Islam is alive, the Ayah Sharifa is alive, the one which I have quoted just now, and if the incidents of Joybar and Zulfi is also alive through Rasulullah Karam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's recommendations, because that marriage took place because of recommendation of Rasulullah Karam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then what could be its application in our days? Is it good to see the economic poles in our society, the social poles in our society, the imbalance? Because Islam has come for establishing justice at all levels, whether it is social, economic, educational, in all fields. That is the reason in Islam, justice is among the usul ad-din. Very unfortunate and very sorry to say, the parameters in our society are not less than the Jahiliya society. Jahiliya means those societies which are either not in line with Islam, or they are anti-Islam, or they were pagan, that were before the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He came up to messengerhood to announce his messengerhood, yani Dawr Jahiliya. That is, if anywhere a proposal comes from both sides. For example, the people of girl will look for what is the salary of the person, what is his age, what is position, and also the boys people, the parents also will look for how is the girl, what is her education, degree education, and what is her character, of course, or her friends. These are some basic questions. But may I know, do we have any Islamic criterion in them? That among these, is there any place to ask how this person, whether girl or a boy, are well versed in Islamic education, learning, and important of all, in Islamic ethics, morals, in sharafa, in nobleness, in character, in simplicity, acquiring with the spirit on a day-to-day basis, in event-to-event basis, in every event, to be nearer to Allah, qurbatan ilallah ta'ala. Do we have such criterion at the time when we send the proposal for our daughter or for our son? It's a big question, and I think this is an important question. It should be a turning point that we should change our parameters and the criteria from materialistic questionnaires to materialistic plus the religious or spiritual or bil marifa. All these are to be taken account. So in the teachings of Quran and Rasulullah, of whom we are Shia, we find that this fits to our episode today in Shia'ism, the national outcome of Islam. If we look into the event of Rasulullah recommended marriage of Jubayr and Zulfi, and then we find that how the life has been sacrificed by the bride of Wahab Kalbi in Karbala Muhalla, who were before Christians, and when they saw such event to take place, Wahab Kalbi became Muslim, and he came into the lot of Imam Hussain salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, to give his life for Islam. This is how the guidance comes in one's heart. And at the same time, the bride of Wahab Kalbi also requested her newly wedded groom to let me be introduced to the women of Karbala, the family of Sayyid al-Shuhada, the women of Sayyid al-Shuhada, like Hazrat Zainab Salamullahi alayha, Hazrat Kulsum, Kulsum. So this is a continuation, but shall it start at Jubayr Zulfi and end at Wahab Kalbi in 61 Hijri? Will it not have any significance today? Are we satisfied with our social setups, social structure today, that can we say our society at the social level is in line with pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal, pleasing Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, pleasing Sahib Zaman? So these are all the questions to be answered. It's good that let us start thinking over these lines also. Maybe at the first look it may look very odd or difficult, but there is nothing difficult. It is only a thought process which takes a fraction of a second. We see that those who have well versed in reading Quran, they may be knowing the incidents of the wizards, the magicians in the court of Pharaoh, in the palace of Pharaoh, that up to a second before, just a second, fraction of a second before, they were worshipping him. But how quickly the change has come, that seeing the kamal, art, sublimity of Musa alayhi salam's staff becoming a big serpent and taking away all their serpents, they just bowed down and said, at one place the Ayah Sharifah says, we believe in the Rabb of Musa and Harun. And in other words, because we see the Ati Allah wa Ati Rasool wa ulil amri minkum, but in other words we also find where the magicians have said, Amanna, we believe in Harun and Musa. So in the first instance, the journey is from Allah Azza wa Jal through to his prophet Musa, as Atiyu Rasul, and then after Atiullah Atiyu Rasul, then Ulil Amri Minkum of Harun alayhi salam in the first place. And the second place, at the second instance of the ayat, it goes in the opposite direction, where it says, where the ayat says, and the magicians have said, we believed in Allah of Harun and Musa. Harun, because Harun is Ulil Amr in the third place. So from Harun alayhi salam, one has reached to Musa alayhi salam, and from Musa alayhi salam, one has reached to Allah Azza wa Jal. And so is the case that we have believed in Allah Azza wa Jal. That the first and foremost in the system of Tawheed, the basic root of Deen is only Tawheed, and on the teachings of Tawheed, we have the Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who Allah made him Rasulul Azam and all Anbiya al Mursaleen, and then Allah made through Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the Aimma, whether they were the Aimma in Bani Israel, or they were the Ansar, 12 apostles of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, or the 12 Aimma of in the Ummah of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they're all given by Allah Azza wa Jal. So Atiullah wa Atiyu Rasul wa Ulil Amri Minkum was universal in all journey of Islam, from Adam alayhi salam till Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that reaches up to 12th Imam. Now, up to those who are living in the time of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was Atiullah wa Atiyu Rasul. Then what Ulil Amri Minkum, followed by after the sadful demise of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But here we see that those who are born after Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and those who are seeing there are many leaders to take you to Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Allah Azza wa Jal. What is the way? The way will be the one which has been guided by the magicians through this ayat, that we believed in Rabb of Harun, Ulil Amr, and Musa, the Rasul of his time, right, to reach to Allah. Now we see in Ayah Sharifah, it says, Man yuti Rasul, faqad ata Allah. Whoever has obeyed Rasul has obeyed Allah. This is Surah An-Nisa, ayat number 80. Right? And so we find that from Allah's itaat we reach to Rasulullah, but we also reach to Allah through the itaat of Rasul. When Ayah Sharifah says, Man yati Rasul, faqad ata Allah. Whoever has obeyed Rasul has obeyed Allah. Now in the same way, Imam Ali says that, Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that Ali minni wa ana min, I am from Ali and Ali is from me. And the incident we have, the event which we have mentioned on the Ayah Sharifah of Ya Nabi Jahidil Kufara wal Munafiqin Maghluz alayhim, we find that there is a continuity from Ulil Amri Minkum until the point we reach to Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then to Allah. So it is all a cycle. In the first instance, like Inna Lillah, where we come from Allah as Atiullah wa Atiyu Rasul Ulil Amri Minkum, and then we go back to Allah through Ulil Amr, wa inna ilayhi rajiun. From Ulil Amr we go to Rasul, and from Rasul we go to Allah. With this we end our present episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum wa sahil makhrajahum wa ahshurna ma'hum warzuqna shafa'atahum. So from hereafter we will continue our next episode, inshallah ta'ala al-musta'an. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma kun li waliyika al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan, salawatuka alayhi wa ala abahi fi hadhihi as-sa'ati wa fi kulli sa'a, waliyan wa hafidha wa qaidan wa nasira wa dalilan wa 'aina حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم اجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره وأتباعه وشيعته والراضين بخير الراضين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم.